Doreen will be.
She will be here.
Yep.
Okay, everybody, let's call the meeting to order. Okay, I call the meeting to order, and now let's salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have such a super duper dedication for next month that we're not having dedication this month. So, roll call, please.
Wendy Burton.
Yes.
Judy Dakota.
Yes.
Eric Hames.
Present.
Nathan LaVirtue.
Here.
Katie Secor.
Here.
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Liaison Reports. Teddy?
Yes, I have 3. So last night was the ZBA meeting. In the Rathjen public hearing matter, that has been extended again until next month, waiting on further information. There was a variance granted for 702 Dual Road. And next month, there will be a public hearing for a carport installation at 15 Indian Trail. So, next, Haunted Fortress. The only really big thing we were talking about last month was possibly getting t-shirts and also finalizing some scenes and what this year is really going to look like for us. So I'm not going to spoil any surprises, but I think we did a really damn good job discussing what was going to be spooky and scary.
So on a random, not a random note, but I was reading that Charlie Wing recently passed away.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, I think it was
Yes.
Is it? I don't know the name, so I apologize. But one of the wings passed away, and there's a memorial on April 12th for him.
That's Pete Wing's brother.
Okay, then that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't the son.
Okay.
It was his son.
Well, what's his name?
Patrick.
Patrick. Okay.
Yeah, that's...
But and one of the cousins lives in town. Jules
Okay.
Wing. Sorry. Never mind.
Good to know.
Sorry.
So yes, t-shirts we're going to be discussing, and we're doing price shopping right now for what it would look like to get t-shirts.
Do you mean t-shirts to wear or t-shirts to sell? Or?
We're figuring that out, what exactly the telos, the intent of getting these t-shirts would be. Would they be marketing? Would they be for the crew, you know?
Okay.
And finally, the CSC meeting, no big update except our next meeting will be this upcoming Monday at 7 o'clock. We will actually have compost bins that we will be looking at that were awarded to us. And we will be talking about what to do with those. Are we going to give those out randomly? Are we going to bring them to events? How are we going to distribute these composting bins to people who are interested in?
I think we're distributing them to people who sign up for the workshops.
We'll talk about that then.
Right? I mean, for the compost, that was, I think the whole point was we're going to have these how to compost in your backyard workshops, and people who sign up for them are getting bins. But we
Okay.
can talk about it later.
Yeah, so we'll finalize the details on that then, because, yes. But at 7:30, we will actually have the meeting. 7 o'clock, we will be going over the bins
Where will you be?
at the town hall.
So I have some information on the bins in mind.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock to look at the bins and admire them, and 7:30 will be the actual meeting.
Okay.
That's my liaison.
And that's this Monday coming.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Eric.
Yes, I attended the planning board meeting on March 26th. It was a very busy meeting. There were 3 minor subdivisions, 1 modification to a major subdivision, and 1 special use permit and site plan approval. I'll start with the minor subdivisions. The first one was Sisters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul. Sean Morgan presented. It's at 177 Sister Hills Road in Stanfordville. It's a 3-lot subdivision with existing buildings on each lot. Second minor subdivision was located at 313 Jamison Hill Road in Clinton Corners. Adrian Velasquez and David Ryder presented. This is a 4-lot subdivision of land for residential buildings. Engineers have more to do on this one. They have to address a situation with the road, and also there's a DEC issue that needs to be looked into. Third minor subdivision is at Winnicke Land Trust. John Gerd Heidecker presented at 6322 Route 82, Stanfordville. This is splitting one lot into 2 lots. There's going to be a house and a 5-acre parcel. There was a motion to classify by the planning board, which was approved unanimously.
Motion to classify?
Motion to classify. It's like the next step before they go into a public hearing. It's like an intermediary step that has to occur first. Next one, modification of major subdivision. This is Rocky Reef Farm. Ernie Martin presented at 6909 Route 82 in Stanfordville. They are resubmitting plans for a driveway. They had to do there's a 50-foot right-of-way. They had to do some field modification work when they were there, the construction firm. They had to move the road around a large oak tree and to protect one of the lot's view sheds. There's also a 10-foot utility easement surrounding the road, and 2 acres or more have a 10% grade. That's that one. They have to work with the town engineer, and there's also a DEC issue on that one.
On Rocky Reef there is?
Yeah, something about a culvert.
Oh.
Yep. I don't think it's a major problem, though.
Requires a modification of the DEC permit because of the change in the work.
Excellent. Right. Next is the special permit and site plan approval. This is for the Millbrook School. They wanted to do this as part of their 2020 master plan. They're creating a new boys' dormitory. It's going to be a little more than 10,000 square feet. It's going to hold 41 students with 4 faculty members. And I think that's on like a 3.2 acre parcel. Let's see. And I think that's it. The next meeting of the planning board is coming up. It'll be on April 30th, and I'll be attending.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Nathan?
Thank you. From the Recreation Commission, they are still looking to fulfill all the slots for their summer camp program. It's moving along as expected. They were hoping it would fill up a little bit quicker. They're probably at about 70 to 80% capacity, so they're close. They were, I think, a lot of the individuals in the town and surrounding areas were waiting to see what Pine Plains did.
And they are open.
And they are, but that one could fill up quick too, and the dates will not work for people, and the cost might not. So, there is still a need for an assistant director. The events that are upcoming, we've got the Easter egg hunt Saturday at the 19th of April, which is next Saturday. It's scheduled for 10:30, but due to these baseball and softball games, it may interfere with the timing, so they may move it up to 10. And there will be information updates on that accordingly.
The Easter Bunny might need somebody to be the Easter Bunny, because this Easter Bunny happens to be the sleigh.
Okay.
You were the Easter Bunny last year?
I'm always the Easter.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Is the costume small?
No, the costume's huge. It's for a very tall person.
It's so funny.
Okay. On May
Any interest?
No.
Oh, it's so fun to be the bunny.
Does the costume smell, though?
Don't they all?
Febreze.
I actually dry cleaned it at one point. It's fine.
At one point.
I'm sorry, Nathan.
So that's happening on the 19th. There will be a bunny. Who it will be, we don't know. On May the 4th, which is also known as Star Wars Day. There is a Mommy and Me Mother's Day tea. And then on the 9th of May, which is a Friday, that evening there will be the next adult trivia. They also had a teen trivia, which was super successful. They had 17 folks join,
Wow.
and they're planning. They all said that they would come back, so they're planning to do that one again. The pavilion rentals are booking up. There hasn't been anybody that has made any comments about the updated prices, so that's good to know. The Big Oak, I don't know if folks remember this from the last year or two, but due to all of the spongy moths, the oak has been having a tough go of it, and it's beyond aid at this point. So they're exploring what to do, or a variety of ways to get it down, because it's a safety hazard at this point. But they would like to try and figure out how to repurpose the stump in some way. So they're looking into that.
I know Jim wants to get it done as soon as possible.
Yes, it's an ASAP thing. So it's going to be in the next couple of weeks it will come down.
Are we getting estimates for removal?
Jim will.
Jim will.
And that is this was all done via email. They canceled the meeting last night due to a personnel conflict.
Okay.
And the next meeting is on the 14th of May.
Julia.
Hello. All right. Hello. Okay, I'm just making sure that I know the next one. Okay. CAC meeting on March 19th. Jen Adams from the Winnicke Land Trust attended the meeting to talk about, there's 3 Winnicke properties in town. One, Duchess Gables, which includes the new Snake Hill segment on the south side of Homan Road, Sisters Hill Woods, and a new preserve on Route 82, which I think is the location of the subdivision 6322, Route 82. She talked about basically what they do, which is land stewardship, wildlife conservation, habitat management for species of greatest conservation need, including turtles, which they found on that property on Route 82. They conduct population studies and work on managing habitat elements. They're also working on a young hunter education program, which is pretty cool. Because they're trying to encourage youth education into hunting because of all of the deer, especially on the preserved land. They talked about the subdivision at 6322, and it was to sell the portion with the home, and then use those proceeds to steward the land, so to do the activities that I mentioned above. There are numerous volunteer activities that Jen mentioned. The CAC can sort of communicate to the town, so they'll be doing that via their social media. And lots of ways to get involved, including turtle surveys and invasive species removals. The roadside cleanup day and compost bin distribution has been, they set that at the meeting, and that's April 26th. For everyone that doesn't know, they usually set up in front of roosters. The Chili Fest is that same day, beginning at 1 p.m. There's also going to be the tie-in with Roadside Cleanup Day to handing out the compost bins for the composting workshop on the 29th. And so there's a tie-in with the CAC and the CSC to be distributing those at that event.
That's a town hall.
Correct. 6 p.m. at Stanford Town Hall on the 29th.
So if anybody wants to learn how to home compost, we're going to have 4 educational evenings, and that's the first one.
Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of discussion about the Huns Lake aquatic herbicide application, and Natalie took a meeting with them and felt good about the application that was to take place in mid-June. The natural resources inventory was in sort of, let's call it a peer review phase this past month. They didn't get any feedback on the land survey that they asked folks to do.
Nobody?
Nobody. No response.
Wow.
They did like, I mean, they brought them to the Forever Young Club, so they had a lot of the members there looking at the maps, and they said there was a lot of really fun engagement, but they didn't get any feedback. They're putting together a master working draft with narratives, tables of contents, and then CAC will begin to look at that in Q2. Roundtable is on March 26th, last month, and Janet attended on the CAC's behalf. We'll get a readout of that in the April meeting. And then there was 2 last things. The Climate Action Hudson Valley, there's a Funding Futures program for 4 selected municipalities. There'll be a Funding Futures Fellow if the person is selected from this municipality to help his or her own identify environmental protection type initiatives and also identify funding avenues for those initiatives. So that should be an interesting one because it ties into a couple of items on the agenda. Well, one item on the agenda, which is the water quality plan. So thinking about, I'll touch on that a little bit later, but we discussed that as like an interesting program to potentially, have someone represent from the town.
Great, terrific. Well, I missed all my meetings because I was otherwise engaged in surgery. So I will move on to privilege of the floor. If anyone has anything they would like to address to the town board, just please go up to the podium, say your name and address, and have at it.
Claudia DeBellis, what street? Charwell. I just wanted to say a quick thank you for all of you for showing up and being so devoted to good government. We have so much these days that is just distressing. And you're here, and you show up, and you're doing right by the town, and I'm grateful.
Thank you,
Moi.
Claudia.
Aw.
Thank you.
Claudia.
Moi. Toi. Anybody else? Kathy?
Basically, I have a question.
Kathy Zier, 158 Shelley Hill Road. On these composting bins, how many are there?
I think, Janie, how many did we get with our grant money? 40?
40? Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
We
that was-
got grant money and we just bought as many as we could.
Right. The other thing is with research into the town, some of the historical topics, we came across a map. My son has been looking into it from 1858, where there's a cemetery over there on those maps near where the Burdick Park is going in. So I suggest that be checked out before you start digging. Kathy Spears says right now there's no physical evidence of it, but it is on the maps from 1858.
Wow.
How would they,
Well, we're not, actually,
Yeah,
there
there's no
isn't,
digging,
there
is
isn't
there?
any digging, really.
Well, I mean, since it's Dot Burdick's park and she's the historian, it would
No, no, I
be interesting to find out about that cemetery. Jim
Is-
Shockley knows about it, and Kathy Spears does know about it.
Is Kathy on the case?
She just brought it up as a fact.
Great.
That she has walked the property and she can't find any evidence of the gravestones, but it was there in the 1850s.
Wow.
So it'd be
Wow.
something to add to that
That's terrific.
project.
So Aaron found that out?
Yeah, he found it out through Jim and through Kathy, researching property near his property. So.
Great, thank you.
Hmm.
That's really cool. Anyone else? Okay, then, I will close privilege of the floor. Our public hearing was canceled because we're still working on the short-term rental law. But for new business, we are finally introducing local law number 4, which is our right to farm law, and I will turn that over to Bob Butts, and we will set a hearing date for that, a public hearing date for that in May.
Okay. This is the right to farm law, and my understanding is that this was developed in concert with the zoning committee.
Yeah, the zoning
And-
commission did write it.
And it's had some edits and but is largely the product of that The law does a couple of things. Of course, it protects farming operations. It creates a farm overlay district, agricultural overlay district, which would be actually the same district as has been mapped by the county within the agricultural district within the town. Of course, agricultural practices are permitted within that zone and encouraged. It requires various disclosures to people who are buying property in the town that may be located within 500 feet of agricultural operations, about that they are taking subject to the activities that take place on the farms, including noise, odors, and everything else. Let's see, what else? There is also the state agriculture and markets law has an oversight function in the Commissioner of Agriculture and Markets, where that has authority to resolve disputes about agriculture arising over agricultural operations. And as an alternative, this law sets up an alternative resolution so that these disputes don't necessarily go to the Commissioner of Agriculture in Albany for resolution. They would be resolved by a local board here with an appeal to the town board.
Or they can still go to Ags and Markets.
Or they can go to Ag and Markets, but this provides a local venue for mediation of the dispute. It's non-binding, but hopefully it could be done at the local level, where there's really more knowledge and sensitivity to local issues. Those are the main points, this law consolidates a lot of the miscellaneous provisions that had been that are currently in our zoning law relating to various types of farm operations, like poultry farms and stuff like that. And it's about 16 pages long. I can't begin to summarize all the provisions.
Well, Julia will get it up, now that we have this iteration,
So-
Julia will get it up on the website.
So our process with, as with all local laws, is that the law has to be first introduced, and no action can be taken for at least 10 days. So we introduce the law, by resolution. The resolution also sets a public hearing date, which we'll have to fill in. And it also directs that the town will be lead agency. We are the only agency to have approval authority over this pursuant to seeker. And we also adopt Part 1 of the EAF, Environmental Assessment Form, which basically just says that this is an amendment of the zoning law for this, for purposes of adopting this. But there's no specific development project that's associated with this, so we don't have any, there are no really physical impacts to it at this point. And the law has to be referred to the planning board for its recommendation, and hopefully the planning board will take it up at its April meeting. And we also have to refer to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development under General Municipal Law 239M.
Great. So, should I make a resolution now to introduce this stuff?
Yep.
And to set a date?
And to set the date.
Okay, so I make I resolve resolution number 4A of 2025, the town of Stanford, introduction of local law number 4 for the year 2025, a local law amending chapter 164 and adding chapter 126 to codify the right to farm and the establishment of a new agricultural overlay zoning district. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Teddy?
Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Judy Dakota,
Yes.
Eric Ames,
Yes.
Nathan Virtue,
Yes.
Teddy Seacor.
Yes.
And I make a motion to set a public hearing date for May 8th. Is that the day? May 8th.
It's a weird date.
Second.
It is, it's so early.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, jeez.
May the 8th be with you.
Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Judy Dakota.
Yes.
Eric Ames.
Yes.
Nathan Virtue.
Yes.
Teddy Seacor.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have to do anything with the seeker? Do I?
Yeah.
Not-
We have the form for you to sign, Wendy.
Okay.
You want me to,
You don't have to read it into the minute.
Now, you said we do this one later.
this gets signed now.
I'm happy to sign it.
Yeah. Find you the signature page.
It's the last one. Mm-hmm.
Da-da-da-da-da. Oh, jeez.
She needs a pillow.
She has a blanket.
I know, but I know, my arm needs to be raised a little.
Do you need an auto pen? I'm sorry. I had to.
Do you need a what?
Auto pen.
With regret, make a motion to accept the resignation of Doreen Brown as dog control officer. Doreen was doing a really great job, but some issues came up, so she has turned in her resignation. I want to thank her for the great work she did for the months she was doing it.
Could I add something? She will stay on till we find someone new,
Jeez. Okay,
which hopefully is
yeah. Well, we've had 2 inquiries?
3.
3, okay.
Wow, okay.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Well, we will not be appointing a new DCO, so we'll move on to item 4, which is the Stanford, it says PROD, but it's actually Pride presentation.
It's correct. in the
It's
public
corrected.
one. And it's actually proclamation, not presentation, but that's fine. So,
The PROD presentation.
Yeah, I was looking forward to the
Proclamation.
presentation.
Yeah.
so it's a motion on my behalf to have Stanford recognize the month of June as Pride Month. And I will, as in the past, I will read this. It's somewhat short, but I'll still read it anyways. Whereas in the state of New York, the town of Stanford recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2025 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month throughout the town. And whereas Stanford, New York joins the county of Dutchess, the state of New York, and the country of the United States to observe Pride Month to honor the history of LGBTQ+ liberation movement and to support the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas the LGBTQ+ Pride advocates for inclusion and support for social movements that advocate for LGBTQ+ people in society. And whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, LGBTQ+ individuals have immeasurable impact online, the cultural, civic, and economic successes of our country and community. And whereas Stanford, New York is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ+ people in our diverse community. And whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ+ equality, it is essential to acknowledge the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the Stanford Town Board calls upon the people of this municipality to excuse me, embrace this principle and work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provide support and advocacy for Stanford's New York LGBT+ community. And it is an opportunity to enact, engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas recognizing all LGBTQ+ residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make Stanford a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit. Now therefore be it resolved that the Stanford Town Board hereby proclaims the month of June 2025 as Pride Month in support for the LGBTQ+ community.
Would you like a roll call on that?
Yes, please.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yes.
David Virtue?
Yes.
Eddie Secord?
Yes.
So I have a question.
Wait,
We-
oh, I'm sorry.
We're just doing it for this June. What about next June? Will
We
have
do it
to-
every year.
You have to do it each year?
We want to.
Okay. But you can't just do it and say it's always going to be the month of June going forward? Just curious.
We've chosen not to.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say it.
That's fine.
Probably could.
Also, I've already spoken with Stacy for Pride Day. The Pride celebration is on June 7th.
Yep.
And we've worked out the different hours for the Veterans celebration and the Pride celebration. So that's all taken care of.
Terrific.
Yeah,
It's a busy day.
Okay.
it's a great day.
Yep.
What about number 5?
So thank you for that. So we have to do that, but so we can do this one. So in recognition of Pride Month, this is a motion to recognize that Pride weekend, the celebration, with a pride flag raising at Town Hall. So this is a motion to do so.
Okay.
Whereas the town of Stanford has recognized and proclaimed the month of June 2025 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month throughout the town, and whereas the state of New York in 2022 elected to recognize local Pride Month celebrations by having the LGBTQ+ pride flag flown at the state capitol, plaza, and governor's mansion for the duration of Capitol Pride weekend, and whereas the local Stanford, New York Pride Committee is planning their celebrations for Saturday, June 7th, 2025, and whereas Stanford, New York is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ+ people in our diverse community, and whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Stanford, New York's LGBT+ community, it is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Stanford hereby approve to raise the LGBTQ+ flag at the base of Town Hall Memorial Park for a period of 2 days beginning Friday, June 6, 2025.
Oh,
Second.
I second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yes.
David Virtue?
Yes.
Eddie Secord?
Yes.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Item 6 is something I'm very excited about. Julia and I we went through the comprehensive plan, and we're trying to address kind of globally all of the different action items that were in the plan, of which there were many. And one of the items was picking up from something that happened 20 years ago.
More
than 20
late
years
90s.
ago, when there was a water quality survey. Mark Burdick was involved in it, and it's time basically to check back in on our aquifers. So,
On our wells.
well, and also on the the wells are fed by our aquifer.
Yes,
So, yeah. So, anyway, I'm just very excited that Julia's taken the lead on this and has made progress. So, Julia, why don't you talk about our water quality plan?
Sure. So this sort of, and I'll keep it brief, it germinated during AOT training in February. There's this program in New York State called Drinking Water DWSP2 program, Drinking Water Supply Program. And New York State is very focused on assessing and then remediating sources of public water supply in the state of New York. Now, I was like, great, can we get tested? And the guy was like, I'm from Stanford. And so he's like, I'm gonna look into it. And he looked into it and he's like, you don't have a public water supply. And I was like, but we kind of do, because it's fed by aquifers and Wappingers Creek. And So that's with the state DEC, and they're like, look, we'll try to get you on this program, but in the meantime, we recommend that you do a private water study and of 50 water sources. And I met with Mark Burdick after that, and he's like, yeah, this is what we did in the late 90s with we had a water quality committee. I think that was formed in maybe the mid 90s, and then by 2000, they had been working with a local engineering firm to assess and test the water in town. And it was found at that time that the water supply was adequate for the amount of planned quote-unquote development that we had in town. And there were points of remediation and an action plan that the town was given. And I think over the years, like many things, it sort of, became something that was, recommended and not maybe necessarily sort of mandated, right? So it's, educate the community on, water protection methods, i.e., lawn care runoff, et cetera. And so there were a number of points in this plan. What the DEC recommended was partnering with either a local agency or we're looking to potentially partner with Riverkeeper. They are doing groundwater testing all over the state, and they provide testing kits. And actually, the Pine Plains Herald wrote about this, not about Riverkeeper, but about testing your well water more often last year. And so it's just been this, it's come up because, as part of the comprehensive plan, we really want to maintain and protect our natural resources. And our number one, screaming from the rooftops in the AOT meeting in New York, is water. And so we've asked to, Wendy put it in her newsletter, and she'll continue to put it in the newsletter until we get a group of 5 to 6 community members. We'd like to get an appointment from the CAC and the CSC to join that committee, and I'm happy to be the liaison with that committee to do things like roll out this testing to the community. Whether that's funded in part by Riverkeeper. I have a call with them next week.
It's voluntary.
And it's all voluntary. All voluntary. But when they did it back in 2000, they had a really great swath of data. And I'm happy to put a summary together if folks are interested. But the goal is to create a similar swath of data, assess what we have in town, and basically try to work with Riverkeeper and the DEC on what remediation options, I don't even know, right, might be available to us. Similar studies like this are happening in the village of Rhinebeck, as well as in Red Hook. So there is a lot of just chatter around, assessing water sources. And it really came from the state because they want to ensure that the drinking water is safe. And so this is the option that a town like ours has available to us.
Great.
Do you know?
Quick question. Is that testing just in the village, or will it also include?
No, it's all over town.
Are you asking about Rhinebeck?
No, here.
No,
Anybody.
it will be anybody. We want, 50 volunteers?
We want 50 volunteers, at least.
Yeah,
No, for sure, and this is going to be,
Yeah.
but we need people to join the committee first, who can then sort of disseminate this amongst their peer groups, So I think we'd want a nice broad swath of people that would then reach out to their neighbors or, friends and say, hey, would you mind if I tested your water?
And locations.
Exactly.
Yeah, it should be
Exactly.
a variety of locations.
Right.
Throughout the town.
You could take more than 50 if you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We would like more than 50.
And I think depending on what we come to terms with Riverkeeper, or if it has to be, something maybe that we fundraise for, I don't know the options yet, but I'm trying. First call is Riverkeeper, and then they gave me a list of several other options to reach out to. So.
But absolutely, Claudia, and anybody who wants to be involved in, I don't know if people will be testing your water, or I will be testing my water as directed. But as many people as want to, it's great. It's great information.
So spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Nathan.
Do you know if they're testing solely at the source for a home's water? Or is it actually testing other sources or not other sources, but other places that water is? Because some properties either have water that passes through their property that may not contribute to where they're actually drinking from, but it may down the line for someone else.
I don't know yet, to be
And
honest.
that's both natural and man-made.
Like
Do we
extreme.
have,
Surface waters.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
runoff and stuff?
Streams.
Streams.
Lakes.
and-
I don't think
and-
we know yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I'd be curious if that is part of it, because that, well, it's not directly coming to
Yeah.
that individual's home. It may go up to someone else's, but, or it can have a negative impact on the environment, not necessarily, because this doesn't say necessarily drinking water quality, it's just water quality in general.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're evaluating, I would assume with like a name like Riverkeeper, they are kind of looking more broadly.
Well,
I'm just
and
curious.
and that's what I want to talk to them about, is
Okay.
like, I joined a webinar
Yeah, it's not
that they
home
conducted
now.
last Thursday. And it was basically around, they're sort of galvanized to try to test as many sources of water as possible so that they can work to advocate for legislation at the state level. So my sense is that they're going to try to get as broad as possible, but I don't know. They might start with drinking water and branch out. I don't know.
Okay.
You know.
So you
To
could
be dis-
potentially have, someone could volunteer, but if they also have a body of water on their property, they could do, here's from my tap, and then, oh,
Yep.
here's from a stream or pond that's on my property.
Yeah, I had a call with, I literally just called the Riverkeeper and I left them a voicemail, and then some nice gentleman called me back and he gave me all these people to talk to. And so I said, oh, I'm going to talk to the woman who did the webinar on next week. And he said, talk to her first and then, you know, kind of go through these other options.
Okay.
But I want some help with people from the committee so that we can sort of branch off different work streams, because it'll end up getting, I think, big.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Question. Is there any discussion as to what kind of testing is being done? Is
We,
it just,
we just haven't gotten there yet.
okay.
But they tested for several, they tested, when they tested back in the early 2000s, late 90s, they tested for a number of things, such as like forever chemicals, iron oxide. I don't know the specifics, and I didn't bring it with me, but I had, you know, Rita Mary gave me folders and folders, and then someone else gave me folders, and I'm not a water expert, but I know that it was very comprehensive testing. If I-
You have
I
a
would hope so. I
you
would
have a
think so.
bacteria or
Yeah, bacteria, and again, I did not read it cover to cover.
minerals like lead?
But it's
or-
interesting, you know, as we get this committee together,
Iron.
I would like someone who could, you know, represent it, you know, the previous study that was done and what's done today, what the difference is, why, you know, et cetera, et cetera. That would be great.
Maybe we'll have somebody from Riverkeeper.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see, but it's just, I mean, we're just at the we're not at the very, very beginning of it, because Julia's been digging in deep, but we will be rolling it out. And
Yeah.
That's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm next, okay.
you're next too.
I'm next again. All right, the next is in line with what Nathan was saying about the big tree. So this started with the big tree, and the red maple has to come down. And I overheard Jim Myers, you know, talking about it in the clerk's office, and I, you know, also got an email from Pat Ryan's office talking about these NPR grants. And so I took a walk down to the rec with Jim and the highway department, and also a woman from Green Thumb, which is, they work with a lot of private residences on sort of tree health, and she came out just to like do a quick assessment with us, like very nicely, took an hour walk through the park and just sort of like walked around. And they identified several trees that we need to watch out for because they are exhibiting potential points of decay. And so she recommended, and we did this with Jim, a little bit of one that has to come down, one that we need to keep looking at, and then two more that we need to do what's called, I don't have my notes with me, they need to basically cable them. So they need to basically hold them together. And she's like, you have some beautiful old growth trees here. And we do. Like that red maple is probably 150 years old.
That's a sad thing.
So we know that next on the capital campaigns, based on, you know, feedback from the community at Community Day and through surveys, that people want the landscaping in the rec to be updated, walking paths, plantings, allows for more shade down by the playground and the pool area. All this stuff is going to take time to grow. But it's good timing because we will be receiving our refund from the state, from the grant that we received from the playground. So all of that administration, and kudos to Lauren Osterman because she's a rock star, our rec director, at putting together all of that information with Jane and Rita and whoever else is involved to get that work administrated. So we have a big receivable coming back to us of $275,000, which we are looking.
47,000. We already got 50,000 back.
But we had 274.
I thought it was, yeah. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. 247. Did I get my numbers mixed?
One of us did.
One of
I'm
us
not
did.
sure who.
Okay. A significant amount. I say $250,000, close to $250,000. Anyway, we're going to apply, that being said, we're going to apply for a grant. We have exhibited success in fundraising. We're getting a more fleshed out plan from Saratoga Associates, who helped us on the master plan. That will be used to basically bid out the work, because we'll have applied for this grant, which is due in early May, to hopefully subsidize some of the costs of that landscaping. And so it's one of these processes where you keep sort of rolling it forward and showing that you have momentum in the town and that you have a plan. And we're looking to coordinate with like potentially a DLC or a Cornell Cooperative on replanting native species in the rec. And so that will all be sort of weaved into the application.
Great.
Great. Sorry, I'm sorry that was so loud.
So will you be
No,
moving
onward
forward
we
on
go.
that?
I'm sorry?
Will you be moving forward on that
So-
post-approval or grant of the grant? So will you be doing any work this year, or are you going to wait through the application process and begin next year?
So I think we need to, I don't think we quite know what we can do now near next. It might be, because we're not quite sure when we're going to, we think June we're going to get the money from the state, but they haven't put the stamp in. They're just starting to release payments because it's in line with the
Budgets.
budgeting
Yeah.
process in
Yeah,
the
I know.
fiscal year.
Where-
And
what's
so
going on
it's sort
there?
of this game of cat and mouse of like, oh, you go first. No, you go first.
Okay.
But we do have, we have like $50,000.
We do. And so we're going to move forward with the fleshed out plan and the preparation of the application
Yeah.
as professional services. And then the next will be the fleshed out detailed plan of grading and pathing and trees and shrubs and all sorts of things down there. There will be a public comment meeting involved in the plan development, similar to what we did with the playground, right? They're going to give sort of a number, and then you work around that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. That's terrific, Julia. Two terrifics. I make a motion to accept the minutes of March 13th.
Second?
The Burdick Park group asked me to make 3 changes in my minutes. Instead of, I had pollinator garden, it's supposed to be a pollinator meadow.
Correct.
I said they had an RFP out for the paving entrance, they're working on it. And Wagner Hodgson, I put Wagner Hudson.
Oh,
I
Rita.
know, so it's okay, I'll make those 3 changes.
Okay. So with those 3 changes, I make a motion to approve the
And
minutes.
Eric second. All
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
I abstain because I wasn't here.
Oh, I knew some, okay, I thought I was the one who wasn't here, but you were, okay. The approval of abstract number 4 for April. General fund spent $70,687.42. Highway, $73,001.21. Bengal Lights, $1,011.98. The ambulance, as always, $62,500. Escrow was $376.25, and that was it. So
Second.
I make a motion to approve the abstract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There is no other. Second privilege of the floor. Any takers? No? Okay. Then thank you all for coming, and I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes should reflect that the clock